Okay. Hello?
Hello there. How are you?
Just a moment. I cannot hear anything.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm just tinkering here, getting everything set up.
Microsoft.
Speakers. Yes.
Okay, I hear you loud.
Yes. I can hear things now. Yes. All right. Good. Awesome.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to switch my microphone. Can you still hear me now?
No. Well, switch back to the other microphone. Hello?
Hello. No, I'm tinkering. I was getting a bunch of echo here, but I think I got it fixed now.
Okay.
All right. We just have to wait for the other two to show up. Oh, I see ScientistMel is in the chat. Okay, Nestle is asking any specific topic about challenges of communicating science to the public. No, we're just gonna babble away. But yeah, if you want to bring in specific issues, okay, he mentions GMOs. Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, and I see Scientist Mel is here.
Howdy, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having me on your show, man.
Oh,
hi, Mel. Yes.
Hi. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am fab. Just got home a little bit ago from work, doing the work thing, and now I'm here. So, hey.
Yeah, we expect you to explain everything to us.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. I'll explain all the things to you.
Oh, good. Yes. Yeah, I expect to hear lots of Mel-splaining.
Mel-splaining. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I should get a T-shirt. I've thought about making T-shirts. Apparently I say funny things sometimes, and one of the things I'm most proud of last Friday, somebody mentioned theses, and I said, "Well, I'm an ape who throws theses." So I thought that might be a funny T-shirt. I'm an ape who throws theses. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not so funny the second time around, but I still get a good chuckle out of it.
Sure. Okay.
I have a funny problem. I cannot see you in the Hangout, but I can see you in the on the live stream.
Really?
I got a little, yeah. I got it on a tablet. I can see everyone, but I cannot see you on my computer screen. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
That's weird. I can see PC, so I don't know.
Yes, I get some weird light coming in here.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Yes, I'm facing kind of south here, and the sun is going down and shining right through the windows, and there's a.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Do you mind if I try to leave the call and then?
Oh no!
Reconnect?
Yeah, we'll take a few minutes to get ready, and looks like Jackson is here, so the gang's all here.
Yay! Hey Jackson, how are you, man?
Pretty good. Long time no see.
I know. Oh, somebody asked what I'm drinking. Okay. Well, it's my own concoction. It is leftover tea that has a pineapple infusion mixed with champagne.
Intriguing.
Oh,
it actually is quite nice. I have a little Splenda in there, not too high on the sugary, has a little bit of bite. I had some leftover champagne, and this was like a chilled tea, kind of the Starbucks variety, and I had a whole bunch left, and I'm just like, pour it in together. So yeah, but I think my glass is probably, if you're a good fan of the geek type of genre, I got Zelda hearts going on here. And so when it warms up, the little red fades. So
yeah, okay. Well, you guys are the nerds. I'm not me. No geek here. No, not at all.
I played Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. I think that was it.
See,
But I liked them a lot.
I'm old. I played the original Zelda. So,
Wow.
where you had like 3 hearts, and then if you got hit, then you didn't have the flying swords anymore. You just had to go stabby with just a regular one. So
Wait, that makes you old because I predate any of the Zelda or Nintendo stuff. So.
I still have an original Atari PZ. That was my very first game system was an Atari. So
I still have my original computer from the 80s. It's right over here.
Oh, what kind is it?
Oh, you may not have heard of it. It's a bit more obscure. It's a Tandy color computer.
I've heard of that. I had I still have my Commodore 64. So
yeah, everybody had a Commodore. I was being bullied for not having a Commodore back then.
Oh no!
I was being called Tandy Boy, and it was kind of
that's not right. I still got the tape deck that she used a tape drive. I still have a tape drive. So. Yeah.
I have an entire collection. It's a bit of a hobby of mine. So don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Okay. Well, should we just plunge in here and get started?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because the whole intent of this thing is I wanted to bring a few people together who will explain to me about this science YouTube thing.
Okay.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? How can we be better at it? And all that kind of good stuff. So I've got a few questions here. I sent them off to you guys earlier. So I thought we would just run through these and we'll each take turn answering them. And also, of course, if the audience wants to throw in questions, that's great. Okay, so my first question is, okay, we're talking about science. What qualifies you to talk about science? What's your background? And why should we trust you as a reliable source of science information?
Okay, who wants to go first?
You spoke up first, so you're stuck with it.
Okay. Well, I have a very strong background in science in regard to academia. I've actually done research for genetics as on the Tree of Life project with Dr. McKenna. So I worked with him helping to map the genome of the ladybug. I didn't get any publications out of it, but I absolutely wanted the experience. And he still writes lots of my letters of recommendation, which is awesome. So I worked in that. I've also worked in zebrafish genetics in undergrad, and then graduate research. I helped engineer a breast cancer test. That was my publication. So I'm published on there with my other lab mates. So we were essentially trying to find cancer's exosomes for a particularly aggressive strain for MCF7 breast cancer. So we were trying to develop a test to be able to detect exosomes, which are much, much smaller than actual cells. So I've done research. I've also taught. I can legally teach physical science, biology, and chemistry in the state that I'm in for secondary school. So I have a master's in arts and teaching and a master's of science in analytical chemistry, biology undergrad, and biochem undergrad. So I think it's kind of like, it kind of is neat because it's all interconnected and stuff. And I've also performed educational research, how to link content mastery to content interest. So I developed a way to do that as well. So it's so I've done the soft science and I've done the hard science. So I don't know. And I know how to read stuff, and sometimes I explain it well. That's why I think I just,
Oh yeah, knowing how to read, that's a good qualification. I agree.
Yes.
Okay, who wants to go next? Jackson, you're next to so I'll let you go next.
Okay. My qualifications are slim to none at current. I have a high school diploma. Working on the next part of that, and the bachelor program for biology, field and organismal, so I can go on to become a zoologist or an evolutionary biologist. At least that's the hope at this point. That's really all I got.
You're still young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
interned
your
at the
fault.
Museum of
You're-
zoology at LSU Baton Rouge for my freshman and sophomore years of college, and that was really fun and insightful, and I got to meet some really neat people. So
Well,
yeah.
that's cool.
So you're an involved, engaged undergraduate who is going above and beyond the call of duty. This sounds like excellent qualifications to me.
Whoa.
Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're doing a good
Phrenomythic is next.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little, I'm also maybe not compared to you guys the strongest credentials, but I did finish my university study in biology. I got a master's degree in biology, and I specialized in evolution, systematics, and paleobiology. So I've been working with fossils, and I've been trying to get a PhD. I moved to Denmark. I grew up in the Netherlands, moved to Denmark, tried to get a PhD, but didn't really pan out. So I moved on to IT, computer science. Well, science. I know how to program. So yeah, and yeah, that's basically it. I've published a few scientific articles, like a handful back in the day, but haven't really been scientifically active since. But I've been trying to keep it up. But my wife, who's got the same background as I do, she works at a local museum here, so she still gets to do the science, and
That's fun.
so that's a good solution for me in any case. At least one of us. Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to engage in an exercise in credentialism here, because I think the primary thing is we've got to be people who are interested and focused on science and want to communicate that to other people, and that's all that matters is that you care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as for my background, I'm just old, I guess. So I got my PhD in 1985 at the University of Oregon, and I worked with zebrafish for ages. So good for you, Mel. They're great animals to work with. I worked with those for a long time. I've taught at a number of places. I was at University of Oregon, then University of Utah, then Temple University, and then finally here, where I've gradually shifted from primary research interest to now primarily teaching interest. This year I'm on sabbatical, and I suddenly got obsessed with spiders. So I'm not working with zebrafish now. It's just something. Yeah, I know. I feel like a traitor.
Spiders are cool though. When
They
I
are fascinating. Yeah.
I have to tell a funny story. You're gonna appreciate PZ being a teacher. When I taught high school biology, one of the things I do, I had stereo microscopes, for like dissection microscopes are just around. And so sometimes students would bring me insects and spiders. And I got this big spider in my house. And they're like, they said, will you kill it in class? And so I would euthanize it in like alcohol. And so then I would take it out and I'd put it under the microscope. And so when the kids are done with their work, they go look. And one day I said, okay, guys, whenever you're finished, who wants to look at spider eyeballs? They're like, I do. One student raised their hand and I was just like, okay. And he goes, how did you get spider eyeballs? I said, well, I just left them on the spider. He thought I had a little knife and was digging out eyeballs and was like, okay, we're going to put them here on the microscope.
We were looking at arthropods just yesterday in zoology. We pulled the mouth parts off these really big black grasshoppers. They were so big. They were like, these guys were like that big. Grasshoppers were,
Yeah, but you killed them. This is terrible. You confessed to this great crime.
Well,
I
didn't kill them.
Well, I did something more harmless when I was a teenager. Before I started biology and everything, I used to make these plasticine animals, and it would start with the organs, and then kind of put the organs together, then cover it up with skin, an outer layer, And then I would start dissecting it, and what if
Yeah.
transfer a section this way, that way, and then
I
had great
did
fun
that
with
too. Yeah, I remember doing that, but then I graduated to roadkill, which is messier and stinks
well,
more.
at least a paleobiologist's roadkills are like hundreds of millions of years old, so it's not so messy anymore.
Aha.
But they are roadkills, most of them in any case. In a sense.
Okay. So anyway, we're all well qualified to talk about this stuff. So the next question is, why YouTube? What made you guys start a YouTube channel? Guess we can go in the same order again?
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
I initially started on Periscope, and I still have, and I didn't have any high-tech stuff. Periscope is like YouTube, but for Twitter. And so I would stream from my phone. And what got me interested in doing science communication was the National Science Foundation science literacy studies that they put out every few years. 2016 was 24% of the U.S. thinks that the sun revolves around the Earth. And so going through that study with the science indicators, I'm like, wow, this is really, really bad. So I started just streaming off of my phone onto Periscope. So I still have the same phone, but I didn't have anything fancy. So I would literally, I think this was from my autoimmune disease talk. I would get up on Saturday mornings and just write out slides on paper, and I would just sit here and I would talk. Okay, so autoimmune diseases, guys. Here, read this a second. Okay. So I got better. So
fine.
That's how I started with that. And then people were like, you should hop over to YouTube. So I found OBS, which is a really great streaming software. And then now I'm able to stream to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Periscope all at the same time. Because I used to try to upload separate to YouTube. I'm like, gosh, this is too much work, because I would stream from my phone, and I would save my video there, and then I would have to upload the video from my phone to YouTube over Wi-Fi. And I was like, gosh, and then try to do it on Facebook. I'm like, man, this is a pain. And then when I found out OBS is a thing, then Restream is a thing, I'm like, I can stream all at the same time. Oh my gosh, fantastic. And so that's kind of what started. I haven't been on YouTube near as long as I've been doing like Periscope and Facebook Live. So, but once I could do that, and once I found OBS, I was like, I can do slideshows, and I can do like video. I can add video to it. I can add extra music. I can do all of these transitions. This is great. So, but yeah, initially the science literacy thing led to Periscope with pieces of paper. And then I got better with my intros and stuff, because people have been very generous and helped me out with that. They're like, you gotta get a better, you need an intro. Honey, you gotta do this. It's like, oh honey, they were just, you need to do better. So lots of feedback and help from and kindness of others has been wonderful with that. So yeah.
So Jackson, why aren't you studying? Why are you meddling around on the internet all the time?
I do both.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I was rushing out of this class. So fun times. Yeah, that was I'm fairly convinced the universe was trying to prevent me from getting here. It was very, very unusually long. I got here originally at the request of a friend of mine, as well as down at LSU Baton Rouge, and I'm up here at LSU Shreveport now. When I was down there, when I first got to college, I was like, I'll leave as soon as I can, so I have a whole week there. I can just do whatever the heck I want. That quickly changed. But when I first got there were these people standing out at the main building on campus, which was called the Union, and they were wearing these like gold suits with red sashes. They were like some sort of nationalist group. I don't quite remember what their name was, but I talked to one of them because I'd never seen these guys before, and one of them just kind of like handed me a pamphlet, and I was like, okay. So I took it and I was looking through it, and one of the things it said was kind of railing against all the evils of society. One of them was evolution is forced down the throats of children in school. And so I went back to the guy and I was like, hey, why does it say this? And I talked to him for a little while, and it was pretty clear he had no concept of what evolution is, or how it works, or anything like that. But he eventually recommends me a series of creationist videos on YouTube, and I started watching them, started making notes on them, and I talked to my roommate about this, and he said, "Why don't you do a debunk of them on YouTube?" And so I made my first video, which was just kind of explaining myself and all that. And then I did like 4, I think, out of a series of 37, if I remember correctly. Never finished it. Probably never going to. It's not really worth it at this point. But then I branched out and started talking about paleontology, evolutionary biology, a few other topics here and there, but that's a lot of anti-creationist stuff. So that's really that was my genesis. So, yeah.
Well, I feel a lot of kinship with Jackson. I have a similar story, although it didn't get me to YouTube right away. And it also started very, very long time ago, like in the early days of the internet. I always had an urge to do something with the science now that I finished my studies and I cannot get a PhD. So I wanted to just continue cultivating that interest in evolution and paleontology and then, of course, late 90s, there was this, there was in the Netherlands, by the way, a Dutch evangelical, a very public figure. He wrote a book debunking evolution, and he was this young hip guy, and he was all down with the internet. It was the latest thing, making web pages and everything. So he's very active on the internet. So I jumped on that, and then I started making my own websites debunking that guy and other creationists that were starting to pop up all over the internet. And this is just the Dutch language sites. So and I spent so much time on that, and because the thing for me was that there are these people saying things about something that I really care for, like evolution, history of life on Earth. Those are subjects that I really I know a lot about them. And I really, they were saying all this nonsense about these things. I was really like, no, you cannot. So I just had the urge to, get out and just set things right. So that's kind of, but then it kind of died down because after a decade or so, I realized, cannot really reason with these people. They won't listen or anything. And I almost started also doing debunking videos on YouTube, but then I never really got to do it. I got a family, how it goes, time dwindled away. And then like 5-6 years ago, I kind of had a renaissance and no, wait a minute, I want to do something again with topics that interest me. So I went back to YouTube and I thought, now I'm going to do it. So I started out with a lot of nonsense videos in the beginning, and they didn't do really well. They were also, I'm not really proud of those. Then I thought, what, screw it. I'm just going to do this more sciencey stuff. And then, and those had more success. So it, kind of slowly started growing. And then I thought, I'm just going to put all my ideas I've got floating in my head out there. And then, like one of my favorite topics is and also one of the things that P.Z. Myers latched onto is like alien biology, speculating on how life could evolve on other planets. I've been running around, with all these ideas on concepts in my head, but I didn't have an outlet for them. But and YouTube gave me that creative outlet. So here I am, in a nutshell.
Yeah, these stories sound very familiar because I started out in this whole business in it was the 80s, and Usenet and Talk Origins and all that stuff, and it was the same thing. The someone is wrong on the internet phenomenon, because here I am studying biology, and you listen to creationists, and you just want to throw up your hands and say, "What is wrong with you people?" Because that's all lies. So I started off there, fighting against that. A lot of it was on Usenet, but also I was doing public speaking about this kind of stuff. And then, let's see, in the early 2000s, I started a blog called Pharyngula, which is still up and running. Go ahead, go over there and read it. And a lot of the early content was exclusively about creationists and all that kind of stuff. But it branched out into everything. So it took over my life for a long time. Okay, and then YouTube started. That was just this year, because you see, like Mel taking her students in and showing them stuff on the scope. A lot of what I do in the lab is video microscopy. So I got all this gear. I've got dissecting scopes and fancy compound scopes and fluorescent scopes, and I got video cameras hooked up to them and all kinds of stuff. And so this summer, when I was in the process of switching over to getting engrossed in spiders, I also started throwing spiders on the scope, live ones. I wouldn't kill them, but putting live spiders on there and making little videos, because I'm just trying to figure out what the heck spider life is like. And I put those on YouTube because that was easiest.
I have to tell you, there's a series you would love, Peasy. Have you seen Monster Bug Wars?
No.
They essentially just take different insects, including spiders. One of my favorite spiders is the huntsman spider, because it is camouflage. It's just freaking gorgeous. You have to look up Monster Bug Wars.
Monster Bug Wars. Okay.
And they don't like pit them. They just happen to find two of them fighting together, and then they have entomologists in there, and they explain all of the pros and the cons. It's just amazing. It's so fun. And then you got the katydid, and the katydid has to break away from the web, and if the katydid's not able to break away from the web, then this particular such and such spider will go, and the venom is just terrible. They're just so excited. It's almost like watching a monster truck show, except with bugs and spiders and insects, and they just throw them all together and they fight and they duke it out, and then you learn some science.
Okay,
that's more entertainment.
We just have to end this hangout because I got to go play on. But yeah, that's what I started doing is with spider videos. It turns out that there is a huge contingent of human beings on this planet who do not want to see anything to do with spiders.
Oh, really?
I don't get it.
Absolute shame.
I know they're so gorgeous, but anyway, so I'm also started doing some other things and playing around with it and trying to master this whole video thing, which I'm on sabbatical, so it was another project. It was okay, so I'm still working on it.
I recently had my mind changed about arachnids. Svan and I went to this thing in Shreveport called Repticon, where basically people come and sell reptiles, amphibians, arthropods, and we came over to this table. One of the first tables we saw has a whole bunch of these little plastic containers with holes in them, of course. And I look in the first one, it's got this gigantic black scorpion, and I look at it, I was like, "Oh, that's so beautiful! Such a beautiful scorpion." And the lady who runs the table comes over and says, "Do you want to hold it?" At first I was like, well, and she kind of coaxed me into it, and so I did. I got to hold this really beautiful. It was like the size of all 4 of my fingers. It was beautiful.
Did
and then
you
I also
post that picture? I think I saw you posting that picture on Twitter or something.
Yeah, it was awesome. I also got to hold a whiptail scorpion. He was a lot better. He was smaller.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. We should be flashing our favorite insects on the screen right now and drive the entire audience away. Okay, but anyway, that leads into the next question I was going to ask you guys is, what are you trying to do with YouTube? Now you've explained why you started, but why do you keep doing it? What are you hoping to accomplish with your life, with your YouTube channel, whatever?
Okay, I guess the same order.
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
It makes it easy.
It is, yeah. Predetermined order from the first question. That's okay. So My whole goal is to boost science literacy. I get recommendations from teachers for content to help engage their students. Speaking of which, I need to do one on molar solutions. There's a teacher who's messaged me, can you do a video on molar? So I put like teacher requests kind of up there. So I get requests from teachers. But also I have various programs that can hit different demographics as far as age wise. And the whole purpose is to just boost curiosity, and then the hopes that somebody will sit there and watch something like, wow, okay, quantum entanglement isn't so, hard to understand. And the thing that I like about it is my viewers primarily are adults, and they vote for what I talk about on Saturday mornings. That's a whole show. It's all viewer generated topics. So I'll get up 6 in the morning. They voted. I would have only known the topic for maybe a couple days. The week that relativity won, that was interesting because space-time was always elusive to me. But they're like, we want to learn about relativity. I'm like, okay. So I had just a few days. And I had a basic understanding of relativity anyway. But then I'm like, okay, how am I going to explain space-time? Because that I never got that down. And so part of the goal of my channel is also to help me learn more about stuff that I'm not so terribly strong in. And so when I did that and I got that down, I started to branch out into other shows. Some people like a more cheeky, snarky type of show. So my show This Week in BS on Thursdays, it's just taking homeopathy, just bad science. We ripped apart PETA the other day. Please don't drink bleach. It doesn't cure autism, just stuff like that. And I'll have people that have some kind of background or associated with it. They'll come on and we'll just kind of talk about the bad science that's used. This is how you recognize it. And we can, a little tongue in cheek. And then I have a show called Spirited Science where we drink a beverage. You've been on that, PZ. We were talking about Darwin and Jackson was on that one too. So we had the Darwin and that I'm branching out more of like an outreach to where I have people that have no science background who just want to talk about a scientist or learn about him. Like, oh, I always wanted to learn about this scientist. I'm like, okay, well, here's some information, just a couple paragraphs, just read up on this, pick out stuff that you'll like, and then you can talk about it on the show and we'll just kind of hang out. So that's a way that I'm trying to, my public is already involved in picking what I talk about on Saturday mornings, but Spirited Science takes it a bit further and engages the population. So you want to be on my show? Fantastic. What do you want to talk about? And then that way they get to learn something. We all get to chat and I get to learn a bit more about how adults learn and think and what they're interested in from a wide, audience. So, which is still cool. So that's the goal. Eventually I would like to have a science communicator type of convention like Comic-Con, except for science, which I think is very possible. I'm currently in the works with that with somebody who plans events. I met her through her husband, who is a NASA solar system ambassador. And I met him when I went to Wallops and was at NASA. And so I've made really good connections to where we're starting to move towards going to a broader scale to have more of like a Comic-Con type of feel, but with science and bringing in more of the public and have them engaged and get, maybe learn a little bit of something and, make it fun. So that's kind of the goal of what I would like to do, but baby steps and then hopefully.
Yeah, we had a conference like that a couple of years ago that kind of fell apart. Bora was one of the primary organizers behind it, and he kind of fell under a cloud, and everything just kind of fell apart. But it was a really good conference. We also do something along those lines at science fiction conventions. So we have Convergence here in Minneapolis, and I go there every year. And there's a small group of us who will sit around and talk about it. Yeah, Science Online, that was the name of it. And it's really sad that that's not around anymore. It was a great conference.
Oh. Well, maybe I'll hop over to Convergence one day.
Yeah, we actually organized. We had an organized group, and it was in in cooperation with Skeptics. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, but then Rebecca Watson's in California and all this stuff, and it got to be too hard to coordinate, bring everybody together. We could probably take over Skepticon. They're into this sort of thing.
Yes.
So
Ah,
yeah,
cool.
and
My yeah.
yeah, that one's in St. Louis, Missouri this year.
Okay, okay.
Some of my first atheist videos on YouTube that I watched were I think Skepticon videos, including yours.
Oh
PZ.
yeah, yeah. But they always have a diverse group of people there, and they always have a couple of science people talking. So I don't know. All we got to do is we just have to agree to converge. Yeah. So Phrenomythic just has to fly over from Europe
Yeah.
to Missouri.
I don't know.
I can rent a car.
Maybe next year.
That's
When is it?
probably close.
It's
State of Hawaii.
August 19th this year.
Oh, that's 2 days after my birthday.
Well, there you go. Treat yourself.
I should go hop in a car and drive there and be like, hey guys,
Yeah.
what's up?
It's just in St. Louis. There's lots of. It's also very diverse and progressively friendly sort of organization. It's not, it's not one of these right wing groups. So it's.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Anyway, check it out. Okay, so next is Jackson, who's going to tell us what he's trying to do with YouTube.
Well, I guess when I first started off with YouTube, it was kind of to debunk, and I've done a few debunk videos since then. Not a whole lot, but mostly it's to talk about subjects that I find interesting. Everyone else is just along for the ride. But well, a lot of my videos are evergreen, is what I've been told, because they are these, they're the subjects that you just need a video on them to explain in their entirety. It's not connected to anything in the news or anything like that, and so that's kind of what I try to do. I want a lot of my videos to be something like, if someone says, oh, I need help understanding this subject, I can just be like, oh, well, here's this video where I summarize this thing. And that's what I tend to do. Some of them, my anti-creationist videos are just that. It's like if I see an argument that I think really needs to be just torn apart because it's really annoying, then I'll do that. Like I did that for creationist statistics. There's a video that's been going around for quite a while. I bet you've seen it, PZ, where it's like the probability of a protein folding naturally is 1 in 10 to the 1/64th.
Yeah, they don't understand proteins. They don't understand probability. It's embarrassing to watch.
Oh, yeah, that was that number originated with Stephen Meyer. You might not be surprised to know. But I go through the math of how they figured it out. I go through a whole bunch of studies, both with directed protein evolution and on abiogenesis research. In fact, there's an interesting paper that came out fairly recently on amino acids and ribonucleotides forming around like the alkaline hydrothermal vents and all that neat stuff. But yeah, for the most part, it's really, I do subjects that are interesting to me, and stuff that I would like to be implemented as kind of maybe, supplementary to a class or something like that.
So,
But you do a good job, Jackson. I like your videos.
So thanks. I try to provide a
yeah.
lot of references so you can go, fact check me and all that.
No, but it's good that picking something that you find yourself interesting is, it's fine, because then that's what motivates you, and it doesn't really matter. As long as people can learn from it.
Yeah.
Okay, Phrenomythic.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?
What I'm trying to do with my channel. Oh, well, as I said before, it is a creative outlet for me to begin with. It's just a place where I can, have my zen, because I have a very stressful life. I've been having a very stressful life for the past 8-10 years. It actually, one of the reasons I went back to YouTube is also because I was becoming disillusioned with my day jobs, and I wanted to reconnect with what really interested me was the science, because I've been moving into the private IT sector, doing all these classical textbook bullshit jobs basically, and I just didn't do it for me. So I just wanted to reconnect with what really fascinated me and interested me, and then I bet I had a bit of a crisis back then, that I thought, maybe I should, make YouTube my career. So I tried really hard to find a subject that I thought would be popular, and it didn't really go anywhere. So I kind of just shifted to things that I just found really interesting to talk about. And now it's basically a glorified hobby. Actually, at the moment, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I've got three kids with autism, so I'm getting a government kind of welfare to take care of them at home and everything. So I really don't have much time for videos, but it kind of gives me a moment just to escape, just to get away from it all. So I don't know if it would be nice if I could live off YouTube eventually, then I would just be able to stay at home, take care of my family, but it's really hard to break through, especially when you don't have the time to to play the algorithm. What you really need to do is upload very regularly, and also have a lot of engagement in your video. So you should I've got a lot of fellow YouTubers who kind of publish almost every week, or at least every 2 weeks at the same day, and they were started out being about lower than me, or about my subscriber count, but because they are so consistent with their schedule, all of a sudden, the algorithm picks them up, and their subscriber rate just goes like, it kind of they do, all of a sudden they become 10 times as big. So that's basically there you can see that there is an audience out there for my channel, but it's hard for people to find it, because, well, yeah.
So you're saying I should just pump out crap as fast as I could?
No, exactly. No, you should not. You should make regular content, and it should be engaging.
Right.
So if it's and that's why Hangouts also often do not really count, because a lot of people, when I do a Hangout, and I get very low engagement on those. But when I do one of my classic videos that attract a lot of attention, like I do some alternate history videos, and I do some of the alien analysis videos, and they attract a lot of engagement. If I was able to do those every week or every 2 weeks, then my channel would take a flight, probably very quickly. But well, that's just weird. So to sum it all up, it's a creative outlet for me. Would be nice if I could live of YouTube, of something that has to do with science and creativity, instead of the bullshit jobs in the IT sector. I don't know. For now, it's just a glorified hobby, and I stopped caring about making my channel grow, because that just gives a lot of extra stress. So
yeah. No, I sympathize. I have a day job I like, fortunately, so I don't feel much pressure to do that. But yeah, so what I'm trying to do with it is, I'm not worrying about traffic. I'm not trying to build an audience or anything. That's kind of off the radar for me. I just want to be able to express myself. And as I mentioned, I've been at this for a long time. I was on Usenet. I was the head of blog, all this sort of stuff. And they were all with the same intent. Here's just a place where I can let myself hang out. And so that's what I'm doing with YouTube. So just here,
You're letting it all hang out.
I just hang my camera
on the Hangouts, hanging out on the Hangouts.
Yeah, and unlike Mel, though, I would not be able to do the breadth of topics you do. That's simply terrifying to me. I'm gonna stick to what I know, and and in some ways, I'm kind of envious because that would be an opportunity to stretch and learn whole new things, which is always a good thing. But I know that next year when I'm off of sabbatical, I'm back at work in the classroom, my time is going to be limited, and I'm going to be doing all cell biology and genetics and developmental biology and evolution. And yeah, physics is scary. I'll stick to it. Yeah.
I have to say, when I took physical chemistry, I learned a lot about thermodynamics. And I just absolutely fell in love with thermodynamics. It's just amazing. And then we got into it's funny, the ACS exam was our final exam for graduate school for physical chemistry. And I bought the study book, and there we were getting into a portion of Maxwell's equivalencies, where if you have like, pressure is constant, and then you have like partial derivatives. I never took Calc 3, and apparently you had to have Calc 3 to get through that. And then when the teacher was like, none of you had Calc 3, I'm like, I got a biochem degree. I didn't have to take Calc 3 for this. And so on those tests, he'd be like, okay, here's all of the Maxwell equivalencies. We have pressure at constant, temperature at constant, and on so on and so forth. I took the ACS book, the study guide, and I just read the whole thing, and then I just went through. I did way better on quantum than I did on the stuff he talked to me about in class when we were getting into quantum particles in the physical chemistry and all the math, all the different variables and what all that means. And so it was like at the end of the exam, he looked at me and he said, "You did way better in quantum than you did the stuff we did in class." That just tells me you would have been a better teacher for yourself instead of me. So I just love learning stuff. And so anytime they give me a topic, I want to learn about, the Higgs boson. I'm like, okay. So let me go and I'll dig in and then I get to learn it too. And I'm just like, quantum's weird, but it's fantastic. Oh my God.
It's amazing how much I've learned since I left university and school and all that. I don't know, it's somehow, no offense to PCMIers, but somehow a lot of those university professors, they really suck the interest out of any subject that you find it. And I was studying biology. I was like, yeah, I'm stoked. Things I'm interested in. Oh, now I'm going to do the module on systematics and evolution. And there was just this boring guy just yapping away and just falling asleep in the benches only learning half of what I needed to learn, just enough to pass. And then after all that, I started, revisiting a lot of the subjects, and it was like, oh, that's how it works. Oh, that's actually cool.
So this is actually good news for me. So next fall, when I start up again, I'll just walk in the classroom with my cup of coffee and say, "You guys go teach yourself. I'm just going to sit up here." And
I had a history teacher in school. He was terrible. He would just give us the book, and he said, make summaries of every paragraph, and he just sit there with his feet on the desk.
Oh.
And and he would grade our summaries. So.
Wow.
And I aced those. I always aced those.
I've only done that when I was a high school teacher with students who just would not let me teach. And I said, fine, bring your book for the next 2 weeks. We're doing chapters 2 and 3. You're going to summarize every paragraph, with a sentence, at least with a sentence. And then you got to go through and answer all the questions. And then you got to do the chapter review. And then you're going to be tested on it. they didn't do so well. So I was like, would you like me to teach now?
So what you really need is, and I think this is a common lesson in all of college teaching, you need something in between where you're, between standing up at the front of the room and lecturing at everyone for an hour and letting them just run amok. You want some guided interactivity, and that's the most effective way to teach. So sometimes I feel like I've got to stand up there and just tell you all this stuff, but then other times, we try to do other activities.
That's kind of what the TA is for, isn't it?
My university does not have TAs because it's an undergraduate only university. So everything is thrown on the professor's shoulders. Okay, we got to move on to our next question. This one is a little different, and I think Phrenomythic got into this a little bit. What are the obstacles to accomplishing your goals? What are you trying to overcome and get things done? And what's standing in your way? Besides swarms of children and classes and the YouTube algorithm, or maybe that's what you want to talk about. That's fine.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've only just gotten monetization, I think like a month ago. So viewing hours are very difficult, and people often say, I don't watch your stuff enough. So trying to figure out, how to make more engaging content has been kind of like a thing, because I'm mostly just live stream, because that way people can interact with me and ask me questions right then, which also keeps me on my toes as well, because then I have to, really be able to answer questions. But sometimes I'll ask something that's like, almost there. I'm like, well, that could be a show by itself. Let me put that in in the poll for a topic. So I'm trying to do more shorter versions. I call them ScientistMel shorts, where it's the full content, but not live stream. It's just me saying, this is what this stuff is. Boom, boom, boom. Here's my resources on my website. I think that might help with that, because they're usually no more than 25, 30 minutes. That's the high end. Usually they're around 10 to 15 minutes. But there's that. Other things are funding. Isn't that always the thing? Funding. If I were able, what's standing in my way is the fact that I have to have a job right now in order to support myself. And if all of my Twitter followers gave me $1 a month, like on my Patreon, I could just quit my job. I could go to cities. I could live stream at cities. I could engage with people there. I could get in, more in school districts, say, here's some information for you on how to raise content interest to help your students master it, And so it's just, so funding, that's always a thing. Because I still have to pay for a lot of the stuff that I do. My cameras do have a Patreon, but there's still like monthly maintenance things for the apps that I use to make my teaser trailers, and I pay $15 a month to restream, and so there's lots of different costs that are associated with that. So that's another thing. So I don't know. I think that's probably the biggest thing. I don't worry so much about the stupid trolls. I get those. I get them all the freaking time. And sometimes on certain, platforms, I get a whole lot of them. So it's like, okay. But I do find I've had, there was somebody who made a hate video about me saying I was worse than a Nazi, which I found pretty interesting, which just upped my subscriber account. My subscribers of it, they're like, well, that's because like, she's just a science person. It's like, she's not worse than a Nazi. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So, but it's weird. So I don't know. I can usually navigate that pretty fine, but I guess, it's just trying to sort out how to get the engaging content. Cause I do stuff pretty much every week. Getting feedback, constructive feedback, I guess, on what it is that my viewers would like to see, that would be useful. And I think I don't have enough of that. So I just keep asking. So what do you guys want to see? And then, I guess that's it. Making more engaging content and funding, I
can recommend a good YouTube channel about how to optimize, how to optimize the algorithm and engagement and all that, which is not so hyperactive in your face like a lot of those channels. They're so much. It's a really cool guy called Roberto Blake.
Roberto Blake.
Roberto Blake. He's really, just a cool, low-key guy. Just quietly explains this and that, and he's got really, sharp, and he's really understands the how YouTube works. And he gives some very sound advice. Yeah, I've been following his advice a few years ago when I really was trying to get my channel going, but I couldn't keep the schedule and stuff like that. Yeah.
Would you mind dropping me the link in the Twitter chat when you get a chance?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. How helpful. That's so nice.
You're welcome. I've got more recommendations, but let's wait for that later.
Yeah, I have a question about recommendations. That'll work out fine. Yes, okay, Jackson, you're next. And hey, do you want to answer Nestlig's question? Yes. Have you seen the paper that claims horseshoe crabs are within arachnids?
Have you seen the paper that claims horseshoe crabs are within arachnids?
Yes, I have.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I heard that. But
arachnomorphs, are they part of the arachnid?
Yeah, but I thought it was, when I saw that, I thought that's not news.
Yeah, I actually asked one of my taxonomist colleagues about it, and she said, that people have been talking about that for decades.
Yeah.
We'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. So that's not a surprise. And
I talked about horseshoe crabs in one of my videos based primarily on my part of it came from Donald Prothero. I read his book, Evolution, What the Fossils Say and Why It Matters. Fantastic book.
Yeah.
Got a little misty-eyed at one part. It was so good. It was on forams. It was his papers on the evolution of forams. I have this, the second version. I really liked it.
Okay.
Okay, well, anyway, to remind you, the question is, what are the obstacles you face in accomplishing your goals with your YouTube channel? Besides being a student, I bet you that's got to be one.
That's the main one. There's that. I have work also, which, I schedule things around. If I just had work, it'd be really easy to do YouTube videos, I think. But classes, work. Also, RJ Downer and I are writing a book together we are skewering all 4 of the Answers in Genesis, the New Answers books, all 4 of them at once. They're chapters regarding biology, geology, and paleontology. We're just going to hit them all in one fell swoop. That's taking a bit of time, but I think we're over halfway done now, which is pretty exciting.
But you've also picked an easy target, right?
And
they're so bad.
Oh.
It's like punching toddlers in the face a little bit, isn't it?
Right, you're going to be punching toddlers in the face with real art and skill, right?
Well, that's the hope. Some of the stuff is a bit dense. When you get up to some of the fact claimants, like a lot of their people are just really low. I mean, heck, I had Mike Riddle on my channel. We got to talk to him. He doesn't know anything. But when you get to people like Andrew Snelling, Georgia Purdom, who are, still obviously wrong about what they're talking about. If you come at it from a genetics perspective, you can just hear the things Georgia Purdom says and be like, wait, what did she say? Because when you go through it, it's all bogus. It's the perfect side steps such that she avoids these huge fields of data and things like that. And we have to go through those. And that's what our book is about. So that is taking time also. As for trolls, I don't really have trolls, I don't think. I say that, knock on wood. I used to have a few creationists who would drop comments on all of my videos. They've kind of run off because I don't feed them anymore. The same is true of Twitter. There are a few trolls who I bump into occasionally, but again, I don't really feed them. but that's pretty much it. Those are my main ones: work and school. So, writing.
Reality, in other words. Yeah.
Well, I would love to put more time and effort into YouTube. I learn so much amazing stuff, which I can then actually I take some of it and put it into the book that RJ and I are writing. Just because I come across more technical research I didn't know about and all this other stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Phrenomythic, what troubles do you face?
Time.
Oh.
And mental surplus. Is that a concept you have in English? You kind of, at the end of the day, on the end of the day, you just the only thing you can get into your brain is dumb entertainment, that kind of thing. So, but basically time. I know a lot of YouTubers who are struggling to come up with ideas. I don't get that. My brain is exploding with ideas all the time, and I'm so frustrated that I just cannot work on those, work them out and put them out there. I would love to be able to do that. So no shortage of creativity, but time. A lot of these videos, they need to be researched properly, and they need to be, script writing is not the biggest problem for me, but another obstacle, maybe very important to mention, is being self-critical. But I kind of got the right balance for that, because you have to be self-critical so you don't make crap, but you also shouldn't be so self-critical that you stifle yourself. You hold yourself back and you never get anything out. And I have a tendency to kind of, micromanage, and this little box should be moved a little millimeter to the right. So, and I have a tendency to, make every 5 seconds interesting of the video. And if I work with scripts, because I'm not really good with, live streaming, doing things of just talking from the top of my head. I'm not very good at that because of reasons. So I have to script everything, and then when I'm starting to turn my script into a video, I'm really trying a bit too hard to make, okay, now I've got a sentence. Every sentence or every 2 sentences should have something visual going on for me to to feel like I'm making something engaging, and that can be very take a lot of time and effort. But I cannot not do it. I have to do it like that, because otherwise I'm just not happy with the results. So I want to be able to be proud of a video. And usually when I start with the raw material, especially my recording, that's maybe a third obstacle, is hearing myself on a recording. I really have to go over that psychological barrier of just, oh my God, look at who's this guy yapping away with this terrible accent? And then it takes a little while for me to get used to that, be desensitized to hearing my own self. And then I kind of get over myself, and then I'll be able to work with that. But But when I'm finally done with the video and it's just out there, and I don't want to have anything to do with it for a while. But then, when I look back at my older videos, I think, oh, this is actually interesting stuff, and I'm really proud I did that. So I think it's working out in the end. So to summarize, time, mental surplus, too much attention to detail, trying too hard to make it, in a certain way, and getting over myself. Those are maybe the biggest obstacles. But and there's this really strange phenomenon that I don't know. It's because it's how my brain works. That whenever I have to read from a script, my accent becomes. I have an accent, of course, in English, because it's not my native language. But for somehow my accent becomes more pronounced when I'm reading from a script. And I don't know if my brain is too busy with both reading and trying to tell it in an engaging way. And then there's not enough, processing power left for, keeping my accent down. Or I don't know what's going on.
but it's a lovely and interesting accent, so I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, it sounds good.
But Dutch people disagree. You know, I got a lot of comments on my videos from Dutch people who despise my accent. They're like, "Oh, I love your videos, but your accent is you're such a terrible Dutch accent."
Oh,
Nice.
It's it's the self-loathing Dutchman I call them.
yeah.
Because I think it's just protection, because they know they have the same accent or worse, and they're just basically hearing themselves, and then they don't like what they're hearing, of course. So when they hear, and I've got the same thing. People speaking with a very thick Dutch accent, I'm kind of like, oh. So that's probably where it comes from. But yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, here we've got Jackson, we got Mel, and they both have accents, and I'm the only one here who doesn't have one. Pretty strange.
An accent? What accent do I have?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, well, I sympathize with all those things. I mean, part of the problem is that talking about science is hard, and you know, you mentioned off the top of your head, and that's, you know, at least it's coming out of your brain instead of your butt. And there are so many videos out there where they're just babbling out of their ass, and it sounds so much easier, and it gets a lot of traffic and all that kind of thing. But I feel the same way about scripting, that I have tried a few times to just sort of extemporaneously talk. And you know, I can do it because I do it in the classroom, but then it comes out twice as long as if I scripted it. And
and you forget half of what you want to say.
I had on my live streams, I half script it, and then I half talk. So if you ever watch my live streams, it's really it's kind of interesting, because I'll sit there like, hey guys, today we're going to talk about dogs, or like our best friends, evolution dog, whatever, but the latest science is blah, blah, whatever. I do have portions where I have to get into some of the sciencey jargon, and you know, so I'll sit there and I'm like, so to further elaborate on this, and then I just start going through, and I'm reading a script, and then I'll pop back over and then I'm like, so let me catch up on the side chat, and so I'll go through. So it's like half scripted and half off the cuff, but I do have the script there, and I also use like PowerPoint a little bit. So we're gonna get set up where I can just put in images and animations and stuff, and it'll have, like, you know, a few points, and then I can just usually elaborate on that pretty well. But I half script and half just off the cuff.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's maybe a good solution.
Yeah, I've been trying to get away from less scripting towards more casual talking, but I think I still have to benefit from at least an outline script that gives me a rough idea what I should be saying next.
Oh, yeah.
And then another thing I struggle with, and Phrenomythic also mentioned this, is I am not photogenic. and one of the reasons I got into this was just, you know, you start feeling really uncomfortable speaking in front of people because you feel like, oh man, I should do this with a bag over my head. And just practice, I think, makes you comfortable, and you start realizing, oh, okay, I don't care anymore. I'll just keep cruising along. And
it is weird to watch your own live streams, I have to say. Yeah. I've gone back and I've watched things, and I'm like, okay, I could, and it's mostly just to critique myself. I go, okay, I like that. That was funny. This part drags so long. I need to never do this again. So, you know, but when I do it, I just do it. There are a few times I've gone back and redone things because the sound was just really, really bad. If it was just, but you know, sometimes even when I'm doing a live stream, I'll mess up and I'll say a word wrong, or I'll have like a technical issue. But to me, I think that adds a little bit of charm, and it makes it very personable. And people are like, well, you know, she's not perfect either. She'll be like, guys, look at that. It's not one of my streams unless I have a technical difficulty or I spell something wrong on my slides. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, you just have to learn to be comfortable with the little mistakes. And
yes, and but I think people appreciate that, because you're not this perfectly make-up, awesome hair, designer clothes sitting here. And today we are going to talk about blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, okay, guys, sometimes I do it in my jammies. I'll sit there with my jammies on. It's Saturday morning science and I'm wearing a onesie. How are you guys doing?
Yeah. You know, and the thing is, you know, you don't have to look perfect. You have to look like yourself. You know, I never thought about PC Myers not being photogenic or anything. You know, he's the man. He's PC Myers, and the same with you, Mel. You know, it's just I think, you know, we just look much more critically at ourselves than other people do. You know, we think, oh yeah, ooh. Yeah. And other people just take you for who you are, and well, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay, so we need to get on to the last questions, but first I'm going to answer one question from the chat. What does PZ Myers think about horseshoe crabs being arachnids? And what I think about it is I found that recent paper to be fairly convincing, but it's entirely from molecular grounds. And that's always been the way I think more. But otherwise, I'm pretty open to it because this past year, I've been diving deep into spider systematics, and it's a mess. Mm-hmm. It is so confusing. And so when somebody tells me, well, we're going to do this radical reorganization of this clade, I just say, oh, yeah, that's normal. So I'm perfectly compatible with it. But yeah, but I'm also not a taxonomist. So I kind of accept what the consensus says. Okay, so I have two more questions, but what I'm going to do to streamline a little bit is let's combine them. So the two last questions I have here is, what do you think are the essential ingredients to a good science channel? And what are your favorite science-related channels and why? And I think we can sort of combine that. And so, yeah, explain what you think makes for a good science channel, and maybe you can give a few examples as you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and you can't name anybody on the panel here.
That's not fair. That is not fair. God.
Relieves a lot of pressure.
Okay. So what I think makes a good science channel is it has to be informative. It has to be informative. It has to be engaging. You want it to also be reputable. You want them to be transparent about their sources and their resources. I'll put, you know, like for me, I have my own website. So I'll put all of my slides on my website. You can go there, download them, find all of my resources. There's hyperlinks within the PowerPoints. You can use it however you want in coordination with any of my videos. I just make that available because it's just easier. But I find you need to be transparent on your resources because that gives you a bit more credibility. It shows that people can trust that what you're saying is accurate. In addition to that, sometimes I'll post, like I did one on human sexuality, you know, trying to break down what the current research drives, you know, is what is it that drives human sexuality. And so I broke down all the different types. YouTube doesn't want to monetize it really. For some reason, but I found a really good website that wasn't necessarily a science paper, but it's based out of University of Santa Barbara. And they had so many different topics that they make available. I'm like, this is an amazing resource. Go check this out. They have different publications listed associated with that. Sometimes people don't want to necessarily go and read the science paper. They need something that breaks it down a bit easier. So I tend to throw those in there. So a good science channel is engaging, transparent, lists the sources there to where you can go. And I think that also establishes a bit of trust because somebody will say, where's your citations? I'm like, I got them, man. Here you go. Here's where I got this paper. This is this paper here. And it makes me happy when people kind of challenge that. And I think that's important. They need to trust you. You need to be engaging. Make it, you know, and I think make it fun. Just make it fun. Just be down to earth. Be a little silly sometimes. Make fun of yourself. You know, just a little bit of that I think is important. So
Humor is hard.
yeah, it is. It is. But sometimes I think the other day I was explaining cancer with cellular receptors, and I was using my Ray figure in Han Solo. And so what was happening with the communication breakdown that you have between killer T cells are killing, don't kill Ray, or whatever, and so it's just like, so just make it fun and silly a little bit. My favorites, good examples of science channels that I've enjoyed. I really have enjoyed SciStrike's stuff. He's had a couple of stuff. He had some stuff on there. He has been to NASA Social lots of different times. He's witnessed launches and filmed them and put them on there. He's the one who encouraged me to try to get into that program. He goes, you would be a shoo-in, just go do it. I'm like, but it's NASA. What they doing there? And they got back like, yes, you can come to our social. Guys, I did not realize that being at a NASA news conference asking questions is part of a bucket list. That was like, I got to ask questions at both news conferences at NASA. And I met a Nobel Prize laureate. And I did not. It's like, if you go back and look at my Periscope, because I streamed everything the whole time. I streamed my entire experience. That wouldn't have happened had I not watched SciStrike's channel, been engaged with his stuff. And he's like, you got to do it, Mel. You got to go. You got to apply to their NASA social program. And they were like, yeah, come on out. I'm like, oh my God. So it's like every single thumbnail on my Periscope is me going, it's just like, I was so excited. I got to go to mission control. I got to see the abort button. So, I mean, wow. Channels like that, SciStrike's channel is really, really fun. He breaks down a lot of the Ken Ham stuff, and Eric Hovind. I actually called Eric Hovind one day while we were on there, because I just really wanted to hear what he had to say. And it was weird, but his channel is,
that was Kent.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kent Hovind. That's, oh God, they're all
Ken Hovind, Kent Ham.
Kent Hovind, yeah. So I sat and I called him and I said, I'm a teacher putting together a unit on dinosaurs, and I really, really, really would like to know your perspective on the diversification of them and how that came about. And there's his assistant was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a great question. So it got really weird. And I'm like, this is so fascinating. But stuff like that. So SciStrike, check out his channel. It's really awesome. And that connection got me into really a lot of awesome things. And I feel like that was really cool. SciStrike, he does things really well, and he's engaging, and he incorporates people and other science communicators and kind of boosts the signal. So he's just great.
Okay, so I'll throw a link to his channel in the description when I'm done here.
Yay!
Yeah. Okay, Jackson, you got a favorite couple of channels, and what do you think makes them good?
Well, I too really I watch a lot of science videos. I also watch a lot of Star Wars videos, but probably not relevant. But yeah, I watch a lot of science videos, and I do to appreciate people who are able to break down complex topics and provide references to a lot of literature in the process. One of the first, a really good channel for doing that is Tony Reed's How Creationism Taught Me Real Science.
Tony Reed is a good one. He's another good one.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He makes awesome videos. The first time I saw one of his videos, I was actually drafting a rebuttal to it in the comment section, because he starts off giving the creationist position, but he doesn't say that. He just says, evolutionists think this. They think it rained on the rocks for millions of years and then had to find someone to marry. And I was starting to type in the comment section a response to that. And then he does his intro. Then he's like, well, this is what actually researchers think about this process, about abiogenesis, and this is the origin of sexual reproduction. He goes through all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Glad I didn't hit send yet. And so he's really great. He's a good friend. He also introduced me to Paulogia, who's another great channel. Paul's really
is cool. He's had me on there before. We were talking about life on potential life on other planets. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. He had me on for ham and eggs. He also had PZ on there and Mel. Trey the Explainer is another really good one.
See that? What was that again?
Good.
Trey the Explainer.
Trey the Explainer. Okay.
Yeah, he does videos on prehistoric things. Like he does cryptozoology occasionally, and I think some of his cryptozoology stuff is really insightful because in one instance he looked at kind of the social forces that kind of propelled belief in one of the cryptids, which was fascinating because it was this this French town was under very hard times. They were being taxed heavily, and there were some murders which they attributed to this monster, and it's all really, really neat stuff. And I kind of like that. But yeah, Trey the Explainer, Ology, Tony Reed, and there are lots of other ones that are just not coming off the top of my head. PBS Aeons has been really neat.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good. They're doing pretty much all Cenozoic stuff anymore. Don't know why, but still cool. But yeah, I think that they all share in common that they're personable and they explain these complex topics really well and provide links to literature while they do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Well, Science Channels does history count also?
Oh, I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can go outside or do. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I read a lot of history myself, so.
Yeah. No, but actually, before I start mentioning channels that I really enjoy myself, I'm actually. Have you guys heard of the We Create Edu group, YouTuber group?
We create.
Yeah, We Create Edu. It's in one word.
We create edu, essentially.
Yeah, We Create Edu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a group of YouTubers, educational YouTubers, and it's not one of those networks, by the way. You got those multi-channel networks. It's none of that. It's just a group of YouTubers who started very small, but very small YouTubers got together and kind of helping each other with how to create educational content. And I'm getting to know so many people through that group. And it's amazing, and we're helping and supporting each other. So I've got a huge list of channels that I can recommend, but I barely have time to watch them myself. So I'm gonna have to restrict myself. But at least one channel I've been actually supporting on Patreon for years now. It's called Step Back History by a guy named Tristan Johnson. He talks a lot about history. He was doing a PhD in history, and another one. And there's also a physics channel called Up and Atom. I don't know if you heard of that. Up and Atom. Very good channel.
Okay.
It's a it's yeah. So my sorry, I'm kind of losing track. It's late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another channel that's really inspired me is Kurzgesagt. You know that one? Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell. It's a group of German guys. They make these. They got this very professional English voiceover, and they make these amazing animations, and they go through all kinds of scientific topics. Kurzgesagt. No, nothing. Doesn't ring a bell. They talk about astronomy, and I'm gonna maybe write some links in the chat, or maybe write some titles.
Yeah.
So that one. You PC Myers, you do know Draw Curiosity.
Oh yes,
yes, by Inez. She had a bit of a trouble with Thunderfoot back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember.
Let's not talk about bad
No,
science
sorry.
channel.
No. Sorry.
Oh, that
Poisoned the
takes me
well.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's got an amazing channel. She's an entomologist who studies insects, how they move, how the insect flight, and all those things. Yeah,
Okay,
man,
so there's
I could
lots of
just go
stuff.
on and on. I could go on and
Yeah.
on. So many amazing YouTubers I've been meeting.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Okay.
gonna write.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, do write them down, and I'll just, yeah, we'll throw them in. I'm kind of getting lost here trying to keep up with this long list you guys are sending me, but okay. Yeah, and I see in the chat people have mentioned math channels. I don't know if do we allow math? Mathologer, and 3 blue, 1 brown. Oh, I think I've seen 3 blue, 1 brown. Yeah. Okay, so there's good stuff out there. So let me mention a few, but I'm going to take a slightly different tack because as somebody who's new to this and has been struggling a little bit, there are a few really, really good channels out there, and you've mentioned some of them like PBS Aeons and also Hank Green's SciShow.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I have with those is these are people who have a team of animators and photographers and producers. They are not one-man shows or one-person shows. They're just, so I don't use them as inspiration because they're more intimidating than anything else. But they are informative. I mean, it's really good. So I'm not complaining there. It's just when I go looking for interesting science channels, what I look for is something personal, something where I see personality and where I see some real enthusiasm for what they're doing. So, for instance, just a few that I'll mention. So Scott Manley, even if he's physics, okay, yeah, somebody's got to talk about physics, I guess. Scott Manley, what I find interesting about him is he's very knowledgeable, and he talks about the details of physics, but he's got a hook in that he uses physics games in many of his videos as a tool to get ideas across. So he's really into this. What is it? Kerbal Science Program. You heard of this?
Space
yeah,
program.
Kerbal Space Program. Yeah, and I just find that a really smart way to get a general audience to pay attention to some detailed physics is if you're using it to help them understand what's going on in the game. Another one, let's see. Oh, this is just my quirky interest. There's a guy named Frankus Lee, and he just makes movies about spiders. Lots of spider, and he's so enthusiastic about them, and that's kind of what I like about him is, he's constantly getting new spiders. He orders them and he buys them from stores and he catches them, and then he's got to make a little video where he says, "Oh, look at this cool spider and what it's going to do," and here it's and it's just lots of lingering shots of spiders killing prey or something, and that's kind of what it doesn't have to be spiders, of course, but that's kind of what I like is that if it's not a professional show, somebody can at least sit down and express some personal passions for something, and that gets me interested in what they're doing. Although in this case, I was interested in spiders before we started. So yeah, there's that's one problem is YouTube has so many channels right now that are related to science interests, and sometimes it's hard to pick them out among all the dreck that's out there.
Yeah.
But now we got a list.
There's a big bang of science channels. Yeah.
Oh,
there's I've noticed that a couple years ago when I first started looking at YouTube, I'm old, it took me a while to figure it out. There weren't that many exciting science channels once upon a time. It was all stuff like, we've already mentioned the Thunderfoot guy. and they weren't very good. It was mainly here's me. I hate women. Let me talk about this for an hour, and that kind of turned me off of it. But yes, there has been a little bit of a big bang lately that we're getting more and more people who are focusing on other things. That's really encouraging.
I found the Atheist Experience, and I thought they were very good.
Huh?
They were one of the first channels I came across. Also, Aaron Ra. Can't believe I forgot Aaron. Go Aaron.
Yeah.
I've got so many channels myself.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Ra is mainly doing debunking stuff, but he does have a good series on taxonomy, which has been useful, although he's mainly been talking about vertebrate taxonomy, so I'm less interested.
PZ, you've seen Sean Jen?
Who?
Sean Jen.
Sean Jen, no. Okay, another one I'll have to look up. What is it?
It's not really science, though, is it? It's more,
No, he's more like
social justice and
Oh,
yeah. I was wondering because we were talking about that, and that was on my mind because we were talking about YouTube channels. But
yeah,
if you haven't heard of him, you don't want to check him out. I think you like him.
Yeah,
H Bummer guy.
Oh yeah.
But then we're going into the social justice realm.
Yeah, and it's more gaming than science, but that's okay. And yeah, I kind of feel like if a YouTube creator is not fully behind the whole social justice program, screw them. I'll go find somebody who's more interesting.
I'm not good enough at gaming to broadcast myself playing anything. I would like screw up. Yeah. You think you're bad? I years ago I would play with my kids when they were growing up. I had to stop when they started beating me all the time because they were much better than I was. Yeah. Someone pointed out Stated Clearly in the chat. That's another great channel.
Oh yeah.
Stated Clearly.
Yeah, John Perry, he does he's got some nice videos on evolution and does a lot of stuff. He's pretty active going on different people's channels and stuff.
There's also Ben G. Thomas, which is a couple of British guys. They do evolution, a lot of on science and evolution generally.
They're pretty cool.
They're doing very good. Yeah, they're amateurs also, but they're very consistent and very engaging, and they just putting it out there. They're doing a fine job.
Okay.
I'm gonna write it in the chat also.
Yeah. So I will track down links to these, and it's going to take me days to find them all. That's good. I'll get to work on it. Okay, and we got another question in the chat. Someone is asking about the tunicate neoteny origin of vertebrates, and I think it is wrong, but perhaps if you have the time, explain why it is wrong. Of course it's wrong, because we're not descended from tunicates. Well, not from modern tunicates. So
I found a book from 1978 that has this a polyphyletic metazoa chart in it. It's super weird. Oh, it's got like jellyfish evolving from ciliates.
Oh,
it's strange. It says like tardigrades came out of the velvet worms. That's a bizarre thing.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a real problem with the popular understanding of evolution to try and shoehorn modern organisms into chains of descent, and it just does not work. Just stop it. You can't do it. Yeah. Okay, well, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half.
Wow,
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's probably a good time for us to bring things to a close. So any last comments from anyone before I kick you all out?
Oh, well, thanks for having me on the show. This was awesome.
Oh yeah.
No, it's fun and informative.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I really appreciate hearing from other people who are trying to do this YouTube science game. And so, if I have to contrive my own little group to do it, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like a Saturday Night Live episode of Jeopardy. That's why you're trying to do the YouTube science game.
Yeah.
It's the color of snow. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for showing up, and thanks for all those people out there in the audience. I see. Yeah, you still got. I'm sorry. We got to stop. because my wife is starving, and I have to go feed her. So and Fedor probably needs some sleep at some point.
Oh,
What
my
time is
mind
it?
is disintegrating. Oh, it's past midnight. It's 26 past midnight. So
Oh, that's not so bad.
no, but my problem, I'm a morning person, so I'm gonna wake up like
Oh.
6 or 7 or something, and I cannot fall asleep anymore.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay. It's, I don't do these things
Okay.
very often.
But we'll have to
Wouldn't
do it
wanna-
again.
I wouldn't want to miss this in any case.
Yeah, it's been good. So, good night, everyone. And we'll talk to you all later. And it's been fun.
Yeah.